Legends of Runeterra recently had an expansion along with a rather large balance patch, and so with things feeling as fresh and new and fun and exciting as they are, that means it's time for reveal season? No, that's not a typo. We actually have a champion expansion coming along, and if you don't remember, these are smaller expansions that introduce a new champion. The last one we had was Aphelios, to give you an idea of what to expect here. This is also tying into the Ruination event that is currently occurring across all the Runeterra themed games. So League of Legends, Teamfight Tactics, and of course, Legends of Runeterra. So today we got some new cards. I'm going to go through them like I do. And we're going to start with Ruined Rex. Look how they ruined my boy. Ruined Rex is a 5-cost 3/3. Still in Bilgewater. Yes, I know it looks like a Shadow Isles card, but that's because of the ruined part. But he's still a Bilgewater card. So this 5-cost 3/3 says, on play, cast Cannon Barrage on randomly targeted enemies for each card you've drawn this round up to 5 times. And I think this is neat. It's kind of fun. He's a bit understated for what I would like. I would really prefer to see this even be just like a 4/4 for 5 with this effect. But Cannon Barrage can be a very powerful effect, so I think they're trying to play it safe here. This is, in my opinion, meant to be a supplemental card for Twisted Fate builds. And I like it in that regard, but you have to understand it's not every Twisted Fate build. Like, you're not jamming this into Twisted Fate Fizz. I think this is more intended for the Twisted Fate Swain archetypes, or like Twisted Fate Gangplank Keg Control, because you need to draw cards. So that's where the Twisted Fate part comes in. I think the most common value, the most common setup that you're going to see is something like pick a card on turn 4. So I'm thinking specifically those games where you're playing your Twisted Fate on 4, and then you're using your banked spell mana to pick a card so that you can start ramping up the card draw for leveling your Twisted Fate. And then because you've played pick a card on 4, when you get to round 5, you've drawn at least 3 cards that round. And then you play Ruined Rex. Maybe that helps clean up the board, keep your stuff safe. But in doing so, you've now got Cannon Barrage for 3 triggers. And so I think that is the most common, the most likely setup for playing Ruined Rex, at least when it comes to an on-curve play. Obviously, the later the game goes, the more crazy you can get. It does cap at 5 times, but let's be honest, if you're at the point in any game where you're drawing, 5 cards or more, you're probably winning the game anyway, or you're at that point, in my opinion, you should be allowed to do ridiculous things. So this makes sense. I also think that Ruined Rex could fit very well in like a NAB deck. I think about Slotbot and those kind of casino builds certainly could be very, very fun there, as well as like a post attack option. So you take the attack as an open attack, you get the plunder, maybe you pilfer goods, you do something along those lines, and then boom, Ruined Rex gives you a bit of a presence after the fact. Again, my biggest issue here is just the 3/3 body. I get that the effect is powerful, but paying 5 for a 3/3 for like a one-off activation, that activation had better be pretty good. Now, that being said, the next card I'm actually really excited about. It's my favorite of the reveals today. This is Rhymefang Denmother. This is a 6-cost 5/5 from Freljord. And it says, when I'm summoned, summon a Rhymefang pack. Then grant it +1/+1 for each time you have frostbitten enemies this game. Rhymefang pack is this token next to it, which is a 1-cost 1/1, but it does have the overwhelm keyword. So even if you have only frostbitten, let's say 3 times by the time you play this 6-drop, it's a brittle steel, a flash freeze, one other effect. That's a lot of stats. That is 6 mana for a 9/9 worth of stats between a 5/5 and a 4/4 overwhelm. That is okay. And obviously this thing goes nuts if you get a lot of frostbites. And so I think a lot of folks are going to think about playing this in something like Ash midrange, and maybe it belongs there. But for me, where I think this card really shines is in either Teemo Sejuani or like Ezreal Sejuani. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, both of those decks are a bit of a combo deck, and there are times where you draw all of your defense and none of your actual abilities to win the game, whether that means not finding your Ezreal, not finding enough of your puff cap generators, you know the drill. But if you get a lot of your frostbite stuff early on to stall, then playing one of these means it could be a very big value play. And even if you're not using it to win in those decks, they can still serve as big bodied blockers to help buy you time to find those other pieces as well. It kind of does double duty. But the other reason I really like it in those lists is because if you ever level your Sejuani, so I'm thinking about specifically Teemo Sejuani, where you're more likely to level her. Once you've leveled Sejuani, if she starts every turn frostbiting the entire enemy board to stall them out, that's a lot of frostbite triggers for Rhymefang Denmother. Like, your Rhymefang pack is going to be massive at that point. So I'm really excited to play around with that as a concept. The other thing I want to point out is this is a summon effect. So if you know me, you know anytime I see cards that say do something on summon, I immediately start thinking about all the different ways I want to flicker it in and out, whether that's Ancient Hourglass, whether that's stuff from Shadow Isles where there's a number of options. I want to abuse it. And so I think that there could be a new, I'm not gonna say new, let's back that up. Shadow Isles and Freljord as a control deck has been around since the start of the game, so it's not a new archetype, but I mean a new focus for that kind of controlling archetype, where instead maybe you go frostbite heavy, your Shadow Isles removal, and then you just play a bunch of ways to play this over and over again. Again, whether that is, you know, stuff like Harrowing, where when Denmother comes back, even if that's ephemeral, the Rhymefang pack is big, or, you know, something along those lines. I think that that could be an awful lot of fun as well. Maybe, you know, obviously playing Matron and Cytheria is great, but maybe you get to some weird combo where you're trying to Matron in your Denmother to keep making a bunch of packs. I don't know. I just see summon effects and I immediately want to abuse them. The big one for me is also Callista. I love playing Callista decks, and I love playing Callista with units that have a summon effect, because then every time she attacks, in this case, Denmother is great because it's a 5/5. A lot of times the hard thing that you have to balance around with Callista is a lot of the good summon effect units have low attacks. And so you have to be very weird with your deck building, and you can't put certain units in because they'll overwrite Callista bringing back the unit with the summon effect. But Rhymefang here being a 5/5 means once this thing has come and gone, every time you attack with your Callista, it then will likely summon the Rhymefang, and then that will summon a pack. And so you just kind of get this value chain running, and I really like that as a potential concept. I might explore that. We're gonna have to obviously wait and see what else comes with this champion expansion, but I just really do love the idea of like Callista Ashe as a potential mid-range option as well. Nonetheless, you can tell I'm very clearly excited about this card. It's my favorite of the reveals today. I think that it has the most opportunity to show up in a number of different lists, and I've said it before, but I'll repeat it until I die probably. Any cards that make me want to deck build are usually well-designed cards. Doesn't mean they're powerful, doesn't mean that they are going to be like meta cards. I just mean from like a game design standpoint, it engages me as a player creatively. So I love this card. The last card that was revealed today is Thrumming Swarm. It's one my head is covering. This is a 7-cost 8/4 with Overwhelm, but it says when I'm summoned, create a copy of me in hand if you've leveled a champion this game. So this is interesting because on the surface, it doesn't do anything spectacular for 7 mana. You get an 8/4, and it does have Overwhelm, but that's it. It doesn't, you know, have any come into play effects. It doesn't have any sort of like immediate impact on the board. It's just a big body. But if Shurima control ever starts to become a thing, I like this card because even as a one of in your deck, just a simple one of, you can get to the point where this is just like an endless value chain. And it could just be like, you know, every round you play a swarm and then you defend with your, you know, 3 to 6 mana, depending on how much you have banked. And you just do that over and over again until your opponent runs out of resources. So I think that this is neat. I think it's going to be very good in Expedition where games are more prone to going down to like 1 or 2 cards in hand per player. I think that you can play the attrition game much better there. So in expeditions, I think this card is actually really good, but I think this card is okay. I think the biggest issue is, I said, if there's ever a Shurima control. Let's be honest, there's not really been a successful version yet. I know that I've played around with, you know, making conservator work. I posted that video. There are things, but in terms of like competitive viability, I don't think that this deck is going to have a home unless we see more support in this expansion. But these are the 3 cards. I think they're neat. I really love Rhymefang Denmother. I'm excited to build around that. I want to know what you think. And if you're in the United States, happy 4th of July. This is a holiday today. And if you're not, well then, you know, happy Sunday, I guess. But anyway, if you made it this far, as always, love you, appreciate you. Until next time, may you walk on warm sands.